That night at the family party, my transcript blazed across the projector screen like a circus act, and I smiled, because they didn't know every line of those grades was a trap I'd carefully set. When my recording played through the speakers, the one who'd laughed the loudest became the first to drop to their knees. The 40-year anniversary celebration my parents had waited decades for would be remembered for something else entirely, the night their golden child narrative shattered against cold, hard evidence. My name is Rachel Monroe, and I should have known something was wrong when my mother insisted I sit at the center table where everyone can see you. The string lights cast amber pools across my aunt's backyard in suburban Charlotte, turning familiar faces into golden masks. 40 years of marriage, that's what we were supposedly celebrating. The smell of grilled meat mixed with my mother's signature potato salad, the one she only made for occasions worth documenting. My stomach turned at both. "Rachel, honey, you look tired," Aunt Sharon observed, her voice carrying that particular southern sweetness that could mean anything. "Still doing those night classes." Before I could answer, Mom's laugh cut through the humid air. "Oh, Sharon, wait until you see what we have planned for tonight's entertainment." I watched Dad fiddle with the projector he'd hauled from his home office, the same one he used for his real estate presentations. The white screen stood incongruously against the dogwood tree, its blank surface catching the light like a threat. "Total failure incoming," Uncle Mark muttered just loud enough for the table to hear, earning a snicker from my cousin Sophie. She touched my arm with practiced concern, her engagement ring catching the light the ring bought with her trust fund, the one my parents managed. At 8:45 p.m., Dad clinked his beer bottle with a spoon. The conversations died like someone had pulled a plug. "Family," he began, his voice booming with the confidence of a man who'd never been denied anything. "We wanted to share something special about our Rachel's journey." The projector hummed to life. My transcript appeared in high definition, every grade magnified to billboard size. The C- in organic chemistry looked like an accusation written in red. Someone had added meme faces next to each grade, crying Jordan for the B- in statistics. A clown emoji by the withdrawal notation from last spring. "There it is." Uncle Mark stood, his wine sloshing. "Total failure, and she thinks she's going to graduate." The laughter rippled outward from him like a stone dropped in still water. "Mark, please," Mom said, but her smile betrayed her. "We just thought everyone should know why we've been so concerned. Transparency. You know, no more secrets in this family." Sophie squeezed my shoulder. "Don't worry, Rach. Not everyone can handle real courses." "At least you're trying." "Right." 60 faces turned toward me, waiting for the breakdown, the tears, the scene that would complete their evening's entertainment. I felt the weight of their expectation like humidity before a storm, but I didn't move, didn't speak. Instead, I smiled the same smile I'd practiced in my bathroom mirror for the past 3 weeks, ever since I'd found the first breadcrumb of their plan. I reached for my phone, thumb hovering over the recording app that had been running since I'd sat down. "You're right, Dad," I said, my voice steady as a flatline. "No more secrets." In my mind, I marked it clearly. Step 1. Let them expose themselves to the crowd. The projector kept humming, my grades still blazing against the tree. But I was already 3 moves ahead, seeing the whole board while they celebrated their opening gambit. Uncle Mark raised his glass for another toast to academic excellence, and I memorized the exact curve of his smirk. They thought they'd cornered me with public humiliation. They had no idea they'd just walked into a trap 8 weeks in the making. The crack in our family foundation started long before that night, though I only recognized it in retrospect like discovering termites after the floor caves in. I was 12 when Sophie moved in with us for a year while her parents sorted things out. My room became hers. I slept on the pull-out couch in Dad's office, doing homework on a TV tray while she commanded my desk. Every A on her report card earned a dinner out. My straight A's earned a nod, and that's expected. The pattern crystallized through high school. Sophie's acceptance to Duke meant a party. My full ride to state meant, well, it's just state. When I lost that scholarship senior year, a clerical error. They said, my financial aid forms submitted past deadline. Mom sighed like I'd done it on purpose. Maybe this is a sign you should focus on something simpler. I didn't go to college then. Couldn't afford it. Instead, I caught the 5:45 bus to uptown Charlotte, serving coffee to bankers who couldn't remember my name after 100 identical orders. Nights meant data entry at a medical billing company, my fingers going numb on the keyboard, the fluorescent lights giving me headaches that Advil couldn't touch. Every paycheck split 3 ways: rent for my studio apartment, Mom's family contribution that somehow never went toward family things, and the savings account I hid from everyone. At 24, I finally had enough. Lakeview State University offered night programs for working adults. I enrolled, paying cash, telling no one except my supervisor at Viridian North, the digital marketing firm where I'd finally landed a real job. The schedule was brutal. Work from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., class from 6 to 9:30 p.m., homework until my eyes burned. Weekends meant catching up on projects while my family gathered for brunches I wasn't invited to anyway. You're always so busy, Rachel. My GPA stayed above 3.5 despite everything. Until last semester. You look like shit, Uncle Mark had said at Thanksgiving, helping himself to thirds while I pushed food around my plate. What's wrong? Can't handle the pressure Sophie's getting her MBA while working full-time. You know. Sophie smiled sweetly. It's really about time management. Rachel, maybe you need a tutor. What I needed was sleep. What I needed was for someone to ask why I'd been sick for 3 weeks, unable to afford the doctor. What I needed was for my mother to stop borrowing from my emergency fund she'd somehow discovered, always promising to pay it back after the next commission. The C- in organic chemistry came after I'd missed 2 labs for mandatory overtime at Viridian North, a project that couldn't wait. My manager said, and did I want this job or not? The withdrawal from spring semester happened after someone mysteriously changed my FAFSA password and submitted incorrect tax information, tanking my aid eligibility. It said the access came from an IP address I recognized my parents' house, the old laptop I'd left there when I moved out. Probably a glitch, Mom had said when I asked. You know how technology is. But I started keeping records after that. Screenshots, timestamps, a paper trail of small invasions, each one deniable, all of them deliberate. The pattern was clear if you looked every time I gained ground. Something pushed me back. 3 weeks before the anniversary party, I'd run into Dad's secretary at Starbucks. Your father's been planning something special for the party, she'd whispered conspiratorially. Downloaded your transcripts and everything. He's so proud. That's when I knew they weren't celebrating my struggles. They were weaponizing them. The morning after the party, I opened my laptop at exactly 6:15 a.m. Black coffee growing cold as I stared at the notification I'd been dreading. Password reset requested for your student account. Timestamp 3 days before the party. IP address 192.168.1.42. I knew that IP. It belonged to my aunt's house, where Mom often used the spare room as her office when visiting. The same laptop I'd once let them borrow still had my browser's saved passwords stupid, trusting mistake. Another email, buried deeper. Your tax documentation was accessed on Tuesday at 2:18 p.m. The financial aid office, responding to my security alert request I'd set up months ago. Someone had downloaded my FAFSA forms, my tax returns, everything. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophie. Hope you're okay after last night. Here if you need to talk. I deleted it and opened my call history. Time to move. Lakeview State IT Services. This is Brandon. I need to report unauthorized access to my student account, I said, pacing my studio apartment. Multiple incidents. What documentation do you need? 20 minutes later, I had a case number and instructions to file a FERPA violation report. The Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, I'd memorized it after the first breach. Federal law. Real consequences. Next call. Haley Chen, wait. No. Haley Morrison. My academic advisor. The only person at Lakeview who'd actually listened when I'd explained my situation last spring. Rachel, it's 7 a.m. on Sunday. Someone's been accessing my records without authorization. Downloading transcripts, tax documents. I have IP addresses, timestamps. Can we meet? Silence. Then, my office. Tomorrow, 8 a.m. Bring everything. I spent Sunday building my case like I was preparing for trial. Screenshot after screenshot, organized chronologically. The IP matches were damning the same address appeared for my FAFSA error in March. The transcript download 3 days ago. 6 other unauthorized logins over 8 months. The pattern emerged like a photograph in developer fluid. Each breach preceded a family gathering where my failures became dinner conversation. Monday morning, Haley's office felt like a sanctuary. She studied my evidence folder, her expression darkening with each page. "This is systematic," she said finally. "The March incident alone cost you how much? $4,000 in lost aid, nearly dropped out. And this transcript they showed, when did we release official grades? You didn't. That was the midterm progress report, internal only." She pulled up her administrator portal. "I can see the access logs from our end. Give me those IP addresses." Her fingers flew across the keyboard. The screen filled with data I couldn't read from my angle, but her sharp intake of breath told me enough. "The download request came through a password reset using your backup email, the one you probably haven't checked since freshman year." My stomach dropped. "My old Gmail. Mom knows that password. She set it up when I was in high school." "Rachel, this is beyond academic misconduct. This is identity theft, fraud, potentially criminal." "I know." I pulled out my phone, showing her another email. "There's more. Anonymous message sent to my parents' email 2 weeks ago. Subject line, concerned about Rachel. Attached was my unofficial transcript. Anonymous. Traced the headers. Sent from a VPN. But the metadata in the PDF shows it was created on a device named Mark iPad." Haley leaned back. "Your uncle." "My uncle." She opened a locked drawer, pulling out official letterhead. "I'm writing you a verification letter right now. It will confirm that the document shown at your family gathering was an internal progress report, not an official transcript, that its release constitutes a violation of federal privacy law, that anyone who accessed your account without authorization committed a crime." "Will that be enough?" "Enough for what?" I smiled, the same smile from the party. "For what comes next." She handed me the sealed letter, embossed with the university seal. "Rachel, be careful. Family situations can escalate. They already escalated, they just don't know it yet." Walking out with that letter, I felt the shift from defense to offense. They'd stolen my passwords, my money, my dignity. But they'd left a trail, digital breadcrumbs they didn't even know existed. Time to teach them about consequences. Tuesday evening. I sat across from Evan Torres in Viridian North's empty conference room, my laptop open between us. The office was dark except for our corner, the Charlotte skyline glittering through floor-to-ceiling windows. "You want me to help you catch your family?" Evan pushed his glasses up, studying the USB drive I'd placed on the table. "That's cold, Rachel. They accessed my student account illegally, cost me thousands. I need evidence that'll hold up. And this is legal. Everything I'm doing is documenting access to my own accounts. You're just teaching me how to do it properly." He picked up the USB, examining it like a specimen. "Watermarking. Smart. But basic. Here's what you really need." For the next 2 hours, Evan walked me through Digital Forensics 101, how to embed invisible tracking pixels that would report back IP addresses, device names, timestamps, how to create honeypot files that looked identical but contained unique identifiers, how to maintain a proper chain of custody for digital evidence. "This PDF," he said, modifying my fake transcript on his screen, "now has an embedded beacon. Anyone who opens it, you'll know when, where, and on what device. The watermark is invisible but will show up under analysis. See this metadata field. That's your signature. I took notes like my life depended on it. What about the USB itself? Registry tracking. When someone plugs this in, it creates a log entry on their system. Harmless, but traceable. Plus, he pulled out a tiny device. AirTag. Old school but effective. Stick it inside the USB casing. Wednesday. I prepared 3 USB drives, each labeled differently. Final grades, spring. Tax documents. And medical records. Each contained carefully crafted files with Evan's tracking mechanisms. The medical records were fake but believable, showing a diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome that would explain my poor performance. Thursday afternoon. I visited my parents' house while they were at work. Used my key, they'd never asked for it back. Just grabbing some old textbooks, I told the security camera, knowing they'd check it later. I left the final grades USB in the kitchen junk drawer, partially hidden under old batteries. Placed the tax documents one in Dad's home office, tucked behind the printer. The third stayed with me backup plan. Friday morning, Haley emailed me an official document, Notice of Privacy Review. It detailed every unauthorized access to my account, with timestamps and IP addresses, university letterhead, her official signature, a note that criminal charges could be pursued. I printed 5 copies, laminated 1. Saturday. I met with my cousin Noah, Aunt Sharon's oldest son. The lawyer. "Oh, hypothetically," I said over coffee, "if someone accessed my student account without permission and used that information to humiliate me publicly, causing emotional and financial damage. Hypothetically, that's invasion of privacy, potential identity theft, and definitely grounds for a civil suit. FERPA violations carry up to $56,000 in fines. Per incident." He studied me. "This isn't hypothetical, is it? Can you be a witness to some documents being signed next weekend? Rachel, what are you planning? Justice, will you help?" He was quiet for a long moment. "Uncle Mark's been insufferable lately, bragging about putting you in your place. So yeah, I'll witness whatever you need." Sunday evening, my phone pinged. The tracking pixel had been activated. Someone opened the final grades file from the USB at 6:42 p.m. Device name, family PC. IP address, my parents' house. Another ping. The file had been forwarded to 3 email addresses, Mom's, Uncle Mark's, and Sophie's. I screen-capped everything, adding it to my evidence folder now 43 pages thick. Monday morning, a text from Mom. "Family game night this Saturday, don't be late." The emoji was telling. They thought they had another arrow in their quiver. I responded, "Wouldn't miss it. Can I bring my laptop? Want to share something about my semester?" Of course, sweetheart. We love transparency in this family. Transparency. I almost laughed. I spent the week refining my presentation. 30 slides. Every piece of evidence in chronological order. Screenshots, timestamps, IP addresses, device names. The financial damage, $4,000 in lost aid, $800 in extra loan interest, $200 in missed work while dealing with the fallout. Haley's letter. The FERPA violation notice. The final slide was simple. Demands for resolution. Friday night, I couldn't sleep. Ran through the plan again. Primary laptop with the presentation. Backup on my phone. Evan on standby via FaceTime. Noah confirmed as witness. Aunt Sharon secretly warned she'd always been the only one who'd shown me genuine kindness. Everything was in place. The USB trap, the documentation, the witnesses. They wanted to play games with my future game on. Saturday arrived gray and humid, the kind of Charlotte weather that makes everything feel heavy. I loaded my car, methodically laptop bag, portable projector, HDMI cables, backup drives, the small Pelican case with my evidence binders, my phone, fully charged, Evan already on standby. I arrived at my parents' house at 5:30 p.m., 90 minutes early. Rachel, Mom, emerged from the kitchen, flour in her hair. "You're early." Wanted to set up properly. "Mind if I use the living room?" She hesitated, then smiled that practiced smile that never reached her eyes. Of course. Mark and Sophie will be thrilled you're participating. The living room was already arranged for game night chairs in a semicircle, the old projector on the side table. Perfect. I worked quickly, setting up my own projector facing the opposite wall, running cables behind the couch, connected my laptop, tested the display, crystal clear. Then came the crucial part. I palmed the HDMI switcher Evan had modified, attaching it to their projector when Mom returned to the kitchen. One button would flip between their input and mine. Undetectable unless you knew to look. By 6:45 p.m., the house filled with familiar voices. Uncle Mark arrived loud and half-drunk already. Sophie floated in wearing designer athleisure, her fiancé trailing behind, checking his phone. Aunt Sharon gave me a knowing look I'd texted her that morning, warning her to pay attention tonight. Noah arrived last, his legal pad tucked under his arm. Ready for game night, cousin. More ready than they know. At 7:15 p.m., Dad called everyone to order. The same authority in his voice from the anniversary party. The same smugness. Before we start Pictionary, he announced, Mark has something special to share. Uncle Mark stumbled forward, USB in hand, my USB, the one I'd planted. The tracking app on my phone confirmed it. Device accessed at 7:16 p.m. Round 2 of Rachel's academic achievements. He plugged it into their projector, grinning. Since she wanted to be transparent about her semester, the projector hummed. I sat perfectly still, counting heartbeats. 3, 2, 1. Why isn't it working? Dad fiddled with the remote. Technical difficulties. I stood, voice steady. Here, let me help. Actually, I have something to share first. I pressed the hidden switcher. The wall lit up with my presentation's title slide, Digital Theft, a Case Study in Family Betrayal. What the hell? Uncle Mark started. Please, sit down. This will only take 15 minutes. Slide 2. The timeline. 8 months of unauthorized access. Each incident marked in red. Slide 3 IP addresses. A map showing the location's parents' house, aunt's house, Mark's apartment. These are the locations from which my student account was illegally accessed. Rachel, this is ridiculous. Mom stood. Slide 4. Click. Email forwarding logs showing my transcript was sent from my account to yours. Dad, while I was at work. Timestamp proves I couldn't have sent it. Sophie shifted uncomfortably. Her fiancé looked up from his phone, suddenly interested. Slide 5. The FAFSA incident. This unauthorized password change cost me $4,000 in financial aid. That was a mistake. Dad's voice cracked. Slide 6. The IP address matches your home network. Same device name, family PC. I clicked through relentlessly. Financial records. Haley's letter appeared. University seal prominent. This confirms the document shown at the anniversary party was obtained illegally. Federal crime, FERPA violation. Slide 15 screenshots of the watermarked files from the USB Mark had just inserted. That USB you're holding, Uncle Mark, it's mine. Planted it here Thursday. Every file was tracked. Look, I pulled up my phone, showing the live tracking data. Opened at 6:42 p.m. Sunday. Forwarded to 3 emails. Your email, Mark, shows up right here. His face went from red to white. But the best part, I clicked to slide 20. Is this? A recording waveform appeared. I pressed play. Mark's voice filled the room from 2 weeks ago, captured by my phone at a family dinner I'd secretly recorded. Rachel needs to be taken down a peg. I say we make her grades public. Humble her. Sophie agrees. Don't you? Sophie's recorded voice. She always acts so superior with her night school. Someone should show everyone what a failure she really is. Mom's voice. I have her password from high school. It probably still works. The room went silent except for the recording. Even Sophie's fiancé stared at her in shock. I clicked to the final slide. Demands for resolution. The list was simple, brutal, non-negotiable. Noah stood, legal pad visible. I'm here as a witness. Everything Rachel's showing is documented and legally obtained evidence of criminal activity. Aunt Sharon moved to stand beside me. I'm witnessing too. The trap had snapped shut, and they all knew it. The silence stretched until Sophie's fiancé cleared his throat. Is this real? Every word, I said, clicking back to the evidence slides. Every timestamp, every IP address. Uncle Mark tried to laugh, the sound strangling in his throat. You can't prove that was my iPad. I pulled up my phone, showing the device log. Mark iPad. Accessed my student portal 14 times. Want to explain that to the FBI when they investigate the FERPA violations. FBI! Dad's voice cracked. Rachel, let's not be dramatic. Dramatic. I clicked to a new slide screenshots of my bank statements. This shows the $4,000 emergency loan I had to take when my financial aid mysteriously disappeared. 23% interest? Still paying it off. My phone buzzed. Evan's face appeared on FaceTime, which I projected onto the wall. Rachel, you want me to explain the technical evidence? His voice filled the room. Please, Evan, tell them about the watermarks. Sure. Every file Mr. Monroe is holding contains invisible tracking codes. Opening them creates a permanent record. The metadata shows exact timestamps, device information, even GPS coordinates. It's forensic-level evidence that would hold up in court. Mom stumbled toward a chair. You set us up? You set yourselves up. I just documented it. Haley appeared on screen next to Evan I'd conferenced her in earlier. Ms. Monroe, I'm Haley Morrison, Director of Student Privacy at Lakeview State. The university takes FERPA violations extremely seriously. We're prepared to pursue criminal charges if Rachel wishes. This is blackmail, Uncle Mark shouted. No, Noah interjected, his lawyer voice sharp. Blackmail would be if Rachel threatened to expose criminal activity unless you did something illegal. She's demanding restitution for damages caused by your criminal activity. Completely different. I clicked to my demands slide again, reading each point aloud. One written confession from all involved parties, notarized, admitting to unauthorized access of my educational records. 2. Immediate reimbursement of $4,000 in lost financial aid plus $1,200 in interest accrued. 3. Additional $2,000 for emotional distress and missed work dealing with these violations. 4. Public apology, right now, in front of everyone present. 5. Written agreement to cease all access to my academic, financial, and personal records, with a $10,000 penalty for any future violation. That's over $7,000, Dad protested. That's damages plus a fraction of what you cost me in time, therapy, and opportunity. The FERPA fines alone could be $56,000 per incident. I documented 14 incidents. Sophie stood abruptly. I didn't actually access anything. Another click. An email appeared on screen, sent from Sophie's account to my mother. Subject: Rachel's passwords. Body: try these. Aunt Linda. The old Gmail definitely works. Her fiancé stepped away from her. You helped them break into her accounts. Tom, it's not. It's exactly what it looks like, I said. Conspiracy to commit identity theft. The room erupted. Dad shouting about family loyalty. Mark threatening to leave. Mom crying the manipulative tears I'd seen my whole life, except now they weren't working. I pulled out the prepared documents from my case, laying them on the coffee table. Noah brought his notary seal. Aunt Sharon is a witness. Sign now, or I file the federal complaint Monday morning at 9. Mem. You wouldn't, Mom whispered. We're your family. Family. I laughed short, bitter. Family doesn't steal your future and call it love. Family doesn't humiliate you for entertainment. Family doesn't sabotage your education and then mock you for struggling. I played another recording, this one from the anniversary party. Uncle Mark's voice booming, "Total failure," followed by their laughter. The sound filled the room like an accusation. 5 minutes to decide, I said, pulling up the FBI's cybercrime reporting page on my laptop. The complaint is already filled out. 1 click to submit. Sophie's fiancé Tom spoke first. She should sign. This is criminal. Sophie, how could you— Shut up, Tom, Sophie snapped, her perfect composure finally cracking. 4 minutes. Aunt Sharon picked up the confession document, reading it aloud. Each word hung in the air like a nail in a coffin. 3 minutes. Noah pulled out his notary stamp, setting it deliberately on the table. I'm ready when you are. 2 minutes. Dad's hands shook as he reached for the pen. Stop counting. Dad's pen scratched across the confession letter, his signature jagged with rage. There. Happy. Not yet. I pulled out my phone, opening the banking app. The money. Now. I don't have $7,000 in my checking. Then transfer from savings. Or Mark can contribute, since he was so eager to call me a failure. Mark fumbled for his phone, hands trembling. This is extortion. This is consequence, Noah corrected, his legal pad documenting every word. Would you prefer federal prison identity theft carries up to 15 years? Sophie was crying now, real tears, not the practiced ones she used for sympathy. Her fiancé Tom had moved to the far side of the room, his disgust evident. Sophie, you signed too, I said, pushing the confession toward her. I played another recording from my phone, Sophie's voice from 3 months ago. I helped Aunt Linda reset Rachel's password. She deserves to struggle a little, always acting like she's better than us with her self-made story. Tom walked out. The door slam echoed through the house. Sophie signed, mascara running in black rivers down her cheeks. Mom's signature came next, her hand guided by Dad's grip on her wrist when she hesitated. The woman who'd smiled while projecting my grades now couldn't meet my eyes. The money, I repeated. 3 phones came out, 3 transfers initiated. My phone pinged with each confirmation. Transfer from Robert Monroe, $4,000 transfer from Linda Monroe, Tuba $200 transfer from Mark Monroe, $1,000. That's $7,200, Dad said. More than you asked. Consider the extra $200 in apology tax. I turned to the room. Now the public apology. Everyone here needs to hear it. Rachel. Mom started. Now. Or the complaint goes live. Dad stood, his real estate salesman posture deflated. We apologize to Rachel for accessing her private educational records without permission, for sharing them publicly, for trying to humiliate her. And, I prompted. And for the financial damage we caused? Mark. My uncle looked like he'd swallowed glass. Sorry for calling you a failure. You're not a failure. Sophie, I'm sorry, she whispered, for everything, for helping them, for pretending to be supportive while— She broke off, sobbing. Mom, my mother's apology came out strangled. I'm sorry for betraying your trust, for using information from when you were a child to harm your future, for being a terrible mother. I documented everything on my phone. Video evidence, audio backup. Evan and Haley were still on FaceTime, witnesses to it all. Now the agreement. I placed the final document on the table. Any future attempt to access my accounts, share my information, or interfere with my education or career results in a $10,000 penalty. Per incident. They signed. Even Sophie, her hand shaking so badly Noah had to steady the paper. Noah, notarize it! The official seal came down with a definitive thud. Legal, binding, enforceable. I gathered the documents, placing each in a separate manila envelope I'd labeled beforehand. One for me, one for Noah to file, one for Haley at the university. We're done here, I announced, packing up my equipment with practiced efficiency. Rachel, wait. Mom reached out. No. I stopped at the doorway, looking back at the wreckage of their family game night. You waited 27 years to show me who you really are. Believe me, I finally see it. Uncle Mark, desperate for the last word, called out, You think you've won. You just destroyed this family. I pulled up the anniversary party video one final time, projecting it on the wall, him shouting, "Total failure," while they all laughed. The timestamp showed 11:43 p.m., the exact moment they thought they'd broken me. No, Uncle Mark, you destroyed this family. I just documented it. I left them in their living room, Mom sobbing, Dad staring at his phone showing the transfer confirmations, Mark slumped on the couch, Sophie abandoned by her fiancé, the weight of their actions finally crushing their delusions. Aunt Sharon followed me out. That was brutal, Rachel. That was justice. Noah caught up at my car. You need any legal follow-up. Just keep those documents safe. And Noah, thank you for believing me. I've watched them do this to you for years. Should have stood up sooner. As I drove away, my phone showed the transfers had cleared. $7,200 wouldn't erase the pain, the nights of panic attacks, the years of doubt they'd planted in my mind. But it was a start, and they'd never touch my future again. The transfer confirmation glowed on my phone screen as I pulled into my apartment parking lot at 9:27 p.m. $7,200. More money than I'd ever held at once. Yet it felt hollow compared to what I'd really won my freedom. My phone exploded with messages. Extended family who'd been at game night, choosing sides. Delete, delete, delete. One text stopped me cold. From Sophie. Tom broke off the engagement. I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No guilt. Just nothing. Sunday morning at 10:15 a.m. Noah called. They're panicking. Mark's been calling lawyers. They want to know if you're really going to report them. The documents are signed. As long as they honor them, we're done. And if they don't, then they'll learn what real consequences look like. Monday arrived with unusual clarity. I walked into Viridian North's office feeling lighter than I had in years. Evan stopped by my desk, grinning. How'd it go? Perfect. Your tracking system worked flawlessly. They actually plugged in the USB, exactly as predicted. Arrogance makes people careless. That afternoon, Haley called. The university received your documentation. We're keeping it on file in case of future incidents. Also, Rachel, your grades this semester after everything you've been through, they're remarkable. Have you considered graduate school? I couldn't, with them hovering over every decision. But now, maybe. Yeah, maybe I will. 3 weeks passed. The family went silent, no texts, no calls, no surprise visits. I heard through Noah that Mom had started therapy. Dad threw himself into work. Mark was drinking more. Sophie moved back with her parents, her social media scrubbed of any trace of Tom or the perfect life she'd curated. The irony wasn't lost on me. They'd tried to expose me as a failure, but ended up exposing themselves. A month later, I stood before Lakeview's scholarship committee, presenting my application for the accelerated master's program. My GPA had recovered straight A's since cutting out the family drama. The committee asked about the brief dip in my grades. I faced some personal challenges, I said simply. But I've learned that real failure isn't in the falling, it's in not getting back up. They approved full funding. 6 months later, at graduation, I walked across that stage alone. No family in the audience cheering, no one taking photos, just me, my degree, and the knowledge that I'd earned every bit of it despite them. Afterwards, Aunt Sharon found me in the parking lot. I'm proud of you, Rachel. Thanks for being a witness that night. They still don't understand what they lost, she said quietly. Linda cries about it in therapy, says she doesn't know how to fix it. Some things can't be fixed, they can only be left behind. Will you ever forgive them? I thought about the USB still in my laptop bag, the one labeled medical records I'd never needed to deploy. It contained the darkest evidence recordings of Mom admitting she'd been jealous of my independence, Dad confessing he'd wanted me to fail so I'd need them, Mark's drunk voicemail about keeping me in my place. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. Aunt Sharon, it's not pretending it didn't happen. Maybe someday I'll forgive them for my own peace. But trust, that's gone forever. She hugged me, and I let her the only family embrace I'd accept now. A year later, I sat in my new office at a Fortune 500 marketing firm, my master's degree framed on the wall beside Haley's letter of recommendation. The salary was triple what I'd made at Viridian North. The irony was delicious. I'd become everything they'd tried to prevent. My phone buzzed, an unknown number, but the message gave it away. "Rachel, this is Mom. I know you won't respond, but I wanted you to know we saw your LinkedIn announcement about your new position. We're proud of you." I archived the message without responding. Some bridges, once burned, illuminate the path forward with their ashes. The USB labeled "Total Failure" still sits in my desk drawer, not as a reminder of pain, but of power. The power to document truth. The power to demand justice. The power to protect yourself from people who share your blood but not your best interests. They'd laughed when Uncle Mark shouted those two words. But the real failure was theirs, failing to see that the quiet one, the one they'd dismissed and diminished, had been taking notes all along. Every family has secrets. Mine thought their secret was my inadequacy. Turns out, their real secret was their own. Thank you for listening to my story. I'm curious, where are you listening from? Drop a comment and let's connect about these family dynamics we all navigate. If this resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your own thoughts below. Sometimes the best revenge truly is a life well lived, but occasionally, you need to settle the score first.